This technique was developed on professional dancers having to perform and rehearse and who cannot afford to get injured. So we work very much on like what do we have to do to prepare the body to go really extreme in the afternoon. That's the whole important thing. Very briefly about the theory behind Countertechnique. In Countertechnique you use one very simple principle, and the principle is if you are in motion, your movement has direction. And if your movement has direction one way, you always have a direction in the opposite direction. It's very complex, because the moment you start moving, the legs have one direction, torso has another direction, the shoulders have another direction, and you can actually counter-direct all those different directions all at the same time. So it's not that you dance without stomach muscles. You use the stomach muscles a lot, but they're always a pair, one side of a set in counter directions. Whether it's your stomach and your heels, or your stomach and your head, or they could be as much counter directions as anything else in the body. So for that, you have just many, many different sets to choose from, instead of that everything comes down to this one place. Then different types of power training. There's a lot of power training in the back, because the back needs to get really strong so the whole trunk can come off the legs. There's power training in the legs, both in stretching, like, those stretches, the upside down stretches, the big allongé stretches, which actually is a lot of power training of the hamstrings. Even small shifts like the ones in the beginning, to have actually a lot of power training in the hamstrings happening. Definition and isolation in the hip socket. Redirect your legs so you can create that big opposition. And if your legs are going really far, redirect your torso so your legs can go that far. Then in jumping exercises, you're basically training the fast power in your hamstrings. We do a lot of slow power in the hamstrings, like for instance this thing here, up into that. The slow power of the standing leg hamstring. Whereas all this fast stuff we're doing is really training the speed of the hamstrings, which in contemporary dance we don't train so much. But you want to use that because actually in choreography we start to combine fast speed in the hamstrings with like body part isolation stuff. Yeah, even shift more consciously your head from one side to the other side to the other side. The more you shift your head consciously through space, the easier it is to feel what should counter-direct in the other way. Just shift it over, shift it over. Yeah, shift it over, and then something else helps for the balance. So the more you go there, the more something else will help you to slow down. Yeah? Yeah, it's actually that simple. It's like you have to it's a different idea of what your control is. It's a different idea what your positioning is. Now, once you're used to it, it's fun. You have to do 1, 1, 1. Yeah, so you do arms, leg, head, catch. 1, 1, 1. Arms, leg, head, catch. That's it. So you have to just divide. Heavy, 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 catch. Heavy, heavy, heavy. Lovely. That's it. In that exercise, you acknowledge that every part in your body could could work individually, independently. Whereas before that, you've done a lot of things where your arms are working in the same way. It's actually very classical structure. You have very simple bends, very simple pliés, very simple shifts. And in this exercise, you start to work more sequentially. Your head can go separately from your arms can go separately from your legs. You're finding these oppositional counter directions in the exercise, especially by the time you start to work in a rotated version, your legs and your arms have to work very independently from each other, so you become aware of different planes at the same time. So in this part of the class, your whole awareness of what your body is doing and where the directions in your body are going starts to become way more complex in terms of three-dimensional planes that you're working in. Like here, sternum and fingers move away from each other, but your knees are moving in another plane. Then your sit bones and your head are moving in another plane. So the moment all that starts to contort, your brain has to work faster. That's what's happening in that exercise. So by the time you're getting into the full allongé exercise, where there's much more of a sequentialness is happening through the body, somehow you have to combine the whole picture of working through the space, what we do in the beginning of the class, to finding the counter direction of where you're going and the isolation of what happens in the body parts. So then in that exercise, things start to come really together. Getting better, getting better.